I saw you 9 days ago at a charity event run by our
Yeah,
mutual friend, Mike Barnes. And you and I were sitting side by side for much of the first half of that Eagles game. We were
yeah.
talking early on about how bad the Cowboys were and how they were going to screw things up, which they did early on. But boy, I left at halftime of that game. You left shortly after, I think. Things have changed. The Cowboys all of a sudden are a hot team. They won that game and the next one. The Eagles, meanwhile, have lost a couple of games and seem to be
Yeah.
in a bit of turmoil. As you see it, Fred, what is the state of this Eagles team right now, both on the field and mentally?
Mentally, it has to be daunting for you because I think they're losing games that they should win. When you look at that Cowboys game, you're up 21-0. And when you look at the Chicago game, Chicago literally dominated that game almost, every series, especially offensively for them. It was just very surprising to see the defensive line not really, have gain some sort of traction to create some momentum to, to make some plays. But mentally, it has to be hard because you know that you're better than you are. I think everybody knows that, the Eagles are better than they are. But from a standpoint of just, when you're looking at the X's and O's, and when you look, especially when you're looking at the record and just kind of trying to position yourself in the playoffs, they're still right there on top of the NFC East. But at the same time, too, they got the Chargers, and then they have Buffalo. You think they should be able to take care of Washington and the Raiders, but it's with the way that they're playing now, you're just kind of walking on eggshells. But if I were to talk to this team, if I were to talk to Nick Sirianni, I'd say, look, just go out and be yourself, be who you are, not worry about what your record is of Dallas being hot. That oh, Dallas is hot. Okay, all right. Go get to the playoffs. They're going to need help. They can win out, but they're still going to need help from the Eagles and from other NFC teams to even get to the playoffs. I think I read some quote where Dallas said that they play anybody anytime, and I'm like, okay, but you are where you are right now, of course. So it's hard to watch a good team, I think, struggle mentally and even physically because if I had to put it I'm one of the biggest supporters of the Eagles, but if I had to really pinpoint what was going on, I would look at the play call. I mean, at this point, and I'm not the type of guy who's going to point fingers and get on the radio and say this guy need to do this guy need to do that. I'm always trying to stay optimistic and positive. But that Dallas game, for me, in my opinion, showed me the character of this offensive coordinator, and I don't know if that character is there. And I hate to say it, and I love the Eagles, but I hate to say it, but I just don't think he has that mentality uh, to 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 make this a Super Bowl champion team.
Well, Fred, Kevin Petula has certainly taken a lot of heat.
Yeah,
Some of your former teammates, I guess, Eagle alumni, been on the radio. They've been pointing fingers at A.J. Brown. They've been pointing fingers at Saquon Barkley. They've been pointing fingers at Jalen Hurts.
yeah.
A lot of finger pointing going on Philly Sports Radio. But what I wanted to ask you specifically was about Hurts. I'm a Hurts guy. I'm a Hurts fan, and I thought he played his worst football game that he ever played as an Eagle last
Yeah.
week against the Bears.
I agree with you, and I think that you are going to have those games as an NFL quarterback. You got 17 games to play. You're going to have one or two, maybe even three games where you just kind of like not on target. You're not a perfect individual. You're a guy. I mean, he's a guy. You can't take the fact that this guy went to two Super Bowls and won one. And if he would have, if barring a turnover, in my opinion, in that first Super Bowl, they probably would have won that one. And he would have been the MVP twice in the Super Bowl. So you have to just kind of, you know, let guys have their good days and accept their possibility of the bad days as well. And I just keep harping on the fact that and I hate to do this, I swear to you, because there have been so many times when I've done interviews and the person who's interviewing me trying to get me to point the finger at someone. But when I look at that Dallas game, when you think about AJ Brown, when you think about Jalen Hurts, and when you think about Saquon Barkley, who quote unquote could be a problem, look at the first half of the Dallas game. And if I had to give an analogy, it was almost as if this was a boxer that was going 12 rounds, and he felt that he had enough points, in the ninth round to just kind of dodge his opponent, and he got knocked out. And I just felt like the play calling was not the way it was in the first half. As a matter of fact, I'm sitting there watching the game, and I saw where I think that there was a 2nd and 12, and you've been moving the ball up and down the field, and you run the ball, and it just blew my mind, and I'm like, I think this is a character, in my opinion, a character flaw. I think that when you see an individual, whether it's a player on the field, or even whether it's a coach, the things that they do, you can kind of map out who they are as people. You have to be the type of person, as a player and as a coach, I'm going to put 100 points on you until you stop me. Now, I'm not going to be disrespectful and throw the ball down the field with a minute left and we up by 30. But when I know that I am in control, I have to keep going. And I think that it seems that Tulo think that they were in control at halftime, and they weren't. And I think the play calling really reflect of him saying that, hey, we're just gonna, get through the second half and the game is over. But at the same time, too, you got Dak Prescott and two, in my opinion, all-pro receivers that are hungry and want to play football.
Hey, Fred, my radio partner thinks I'm a doom and gloom fan sometimes. I'm really not.
You are.
I'm not.
You must be from Philly.
All right, well, listen, I know you remember what happened with the Eagles in 2023, the 10-1 start that was followed by 6 losses in 7 games, including a brutal playoff loss to the Bucs. Now, my radio partner, again, Bill, doesn't see this 2025 team going that route, but here is a guy that all of us know and respect who apparently is starting to get a bit concerned. This is courtesy 94 WIP Monday morning.
I mean, up until now, people have been referencing the 2023, the flashback to 2023. And I've always been, no, that's, that was then, this is now. It's 2 different seasons. This team has a much better defense. No, this isn't 2023. Well, I'm watching this game, and I'm saying, man, this looks, feels, and smells a hell of a lot like 2023. I mean, it just does. It has that same feeling.
There you go. Fred, what do you think? Are you at all worried that this is going to be a collapse like that?
I'm not worried. And of course, we'll of course know the outcome. But what I'm hoping is that they understand, the team understand that they are in control of what they, are able to do. They got the Commanders twice, they got the Raiders, and they got the Chargers next Monday, and they also have the Bills. The Bills are beatable. The Chargers are beatable. The Commanders are not. They're going to play till the end. Those are 5 games, in my opinion, that I think this coming Monday that they should, start to lay out, the plan for the rest of the season. And I think that's the mentality that you have to have when you're backed in a corner and when you know that you're better than you are. you have to at some point create a reason, to exhibit the essence of really who you are. And, and that takes every player to have that mindset. And when every player has that mindset that, you know what, we are not walking out of this stadium with a loss. And if you have that type of mentality, and the majority of those guys have that mentality with the talent that they have, and the fact that they are the better team, in my opinion, the rest of the season, they are the better team with every team that they're going to play. So they need to just act like it, and have pride. One thing that in the '90s that we did, whenever there was any kind of downfall, whether it was a series or whether we fell behind, you saw guys on the sideline getting animated, getting emotional, and really trying to push each other. It's hard sometimes to watch them not have success on the field, whether it's offense or defense, and the camera moves to the sideline, and guys are just sitting there, and I'm like, shouldn't they be talking about something? Should they be talking about what went wrong this last series? And it's tough being an Eagles fan, because you got a good team, but it's like, what is missing here? You know that there's a piece missing, and you just can't put your finger on it. Well, I think I can put my finger on it, but there's just so many directions you can go in terms of possibly labeling what really is going on. When I think about AJ Brown, and here's another point where I just kind of question the character of the offensive coordinator. Every time, 100% of the time, when AJ Brown complained, that next game he got 5 or 6 targets.
Yeah.
The first series. Why?
Yeah.
So do you have a plan, or are you allowing players to dictate your plan? And and trust me, I want to see AJ have 1,800 yards in 15 touchdowns and 120 catches. But if you want to complain, I don't allow your complaints to change my offensive scheme. Or do I have an offensive scheme?
Mm-hmm. Well,
We're
Fred,
talking about 4 loss. I think they've won 2 games out of their 4 losses where AJ had like 100+ yards.
Oh, the last 2. Yeah.
Yeah,
Both of the last 2.
he had a great game, and he's okay. I'd rather you not be okay and we walk away with a win.
Right.
Right. Well, hey, Fred, you kind of walked into right where I wanted to go. Having been a guy that's been on that practice field at the professional level and played the game, what do you do as a coach? How much is the coach involved when you come out and first play you run the ball, you gain 5 or 6 yards, and you got an offensive guard with a procedure penalty? You come out the next play, you gain 5 or 6 yards, and you have a wide receiver who has a procedure penalty. The next play, same series, you get offensive pass interference. You got a miscommunication between Hurts and Smith on a route that probably was a touchdown. From a coaching standpoint, how are you working on that at the professional level? A little different where I coached in high school. We could drum them to death, but what do you do at the professional level?
At the professional level, it's interesting because what you think should happen is this: when you have, high school and college guys who make mistakes like that, and there's a loss, there's almost like nothing really to gain or nothing really to lose. It gets to a point to where at the professional level, you inevitably, as a coach, of course, you want to be positive with your guys, but at the same time too, there's this expectation as a coach that you as a player can kind of fix your own self. you as a player can kind of, hold yourself accountable. One thing I think, if I was Nick Sirianni or a position coach, I would look at how they reacted behind these plays. And if it was just, oh well, we have a problem, because here's the deal. I know players are not perfect, coaches are not perfect, nobody's perfect, but at the same time too, you have a grade scale, you have a level of ability to where I know if I measure you as my guy against my opponent's guy, I know you're the best. So, I think, as I mentioned, the games that they're going in for the rest of the season, they are the best team. And at some point, when you make mistakes, there are things that you have to do within yourself to hold yourself accountable to make sure that you don't do it again. But from a coaching standpoint, I would look at guys' reaction after mistakes to see how they handle those mistakes. Now, you don't have to punch yourself upside the head, but at the same time too, I need some emotion behind it, to let me know that you're letting yourself know you can't do it again. You can't let this team down, and you can't let the city down because, what I think we talked about a little earlier, I think it's wide open. I think the playoffs are wide open.
Yeah.
You got a lot of teams that we thought that would just kind of run away from each other or run away from, from the pack. They're not. Tampa's right there. San Francisco's back in there. I mean, look at Detroit. Everybody thought Detroit, this is their year. They may not even make the playoffs.
Yep.
Look at Kansas City. Kansas City may not make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're in a situation where now you physically know that you can go out and dominate. So now you have to prepare yourself mentally to go out and not make the mistakes. And it's almost like, when I play golf, I have to remind myself that this is the shot every time, because if I don't, I'm 7 strokes in. So every play is the play that makes you successful on offense. Every play on defense, this is the play right here that's going to win the game. And that's the mentality that you have to have.
Who would have thought 13 weeks into the season, the Bears and the Patriots would be the top seeds in their respective conferences? It is a crazy year indeed. Hey, Fred, Saquon Barkley had 482 touches last season, by far a career high. Is that the primary reason his effectiveness, his production is noticeably down this year, or is it the injuries to the O-line, or what?
Well, it has to be with the injuries to the O-line. You got the same O-line coach. You got a lot of guys that's out. You got a lot of guys that's been injured. Lane Johnson, I think now is coming back, not this weekend, not this coming next game, but the next, not the Monday game, but the next game. That happens. That happens. And, it still has to put you in that mindset to make sure you sustain, but still strive to scale, and because, as I mentioned earlier, they have some dynamic players, on offense. And sometimes all it takes is just one run to just kind of get things going. I would say that it's been a little turmoil in terms of the injuries. If I had to put my finger on it, the injuries and just, guys even going out not 100%. And that can hurt you. And at the same time, too, we're talking about every team that they're up against. You have to understand this, too, that anytime you play the Philadelphia Eagles, that team is saying in their mind, we're playing the Super Bowl champs. So you're going to get the best from everybody.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, Fred, we spent a lot of time talking about the offense, but I think we have to at least touch on the defense just a second.
Yeah.
The Dallas game, the defensive backfield got shredded by 2 really good receivers and a pretty good quarterback. Against the Bears, the defensive line got shredded. gap control was no such thing. They were getting blown out. Is a reason to be concerned about the defense as much as the offense after these two games.
I think you're always concerned. I think you're always concerned. But, if I look at it realistically, you score one more touchdown in Dallas, you win the game.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to sit here and say Dallas sucks to the point that they're just going to give up, and that's something that they didn't do. But they do suck. Not to that point, but they do suck. And their backs are against the wall. And when I look at the defense against the Dallas game, against Dallas, I expected them to score some points. I expected them to have a few plays here and there, and they put up enough points just to win the game. And as I mentioned, you score another touchdown, one more touchdown, the Eagles win that game. And when I look at the Chicago game, I just saw I call it almost like a hiccup game, because it's like, you just felt like the defensive line had a lot more talent, and it becomes a situation where, is the defensive line not that talented? Well, we know they're talented, but at the same time too, I have to lean toward the offensive scheme, especially the running game that Chicago had, and I have to say, hey, these guys were prepared for what they were going to face and for who they were going to face, and they were successful at it.
Absolutely.
Well, Fred, we have used up all of our allotted time already. It just flew by, as it always does. I just want to tell you, today here in New Jersey, where I am, it was 38, 39 degrees and a chilly rain. For people who can't read your hoodie, where are you and what was the weather like today?
I'm in Bermuda. It was 75 degrees.
Yeah.
It was 75 degrees today. As a matter of fact, in the sun, it was like hot. So once the sun goes down, I just put on my hoodie because it's a little chilly outside. It's about 68 out there.
38 right now, right here. 38 degrees.
I'll be there soon, though. I'll be there soon.
Well, Fred, we appreciate, as always, you taking the time to
Thank
join
you.
us. We love having you with us, and let's do it again.
Let's do it again for sure. Happy holidays, guys.
Thanks.
Be
You
safe.
too, Fred.
All right. Go Birds, Fred.
Go Birds. Go Birds.